Today on Monson Made This, I have a bit of a different style of video for you. I'm going to be talking a lot about coffee. I'm obsessed with coffee. I drink coffee every day. And I'm going to show you how I like to make my coffee and various ways that you can make coffee in a zero waste and in kind of a really inexpensive way. So I'll be showing you that kind of at the second half of the video. The first half though is all about oat milk. People are obsessed with oat milk. People are looking for Oatly and trying to find it. It's running out places or they can't buy it places and everybody wants it. I don't know if it's like a Colorado thing or what, but everyone's obsessed with oat milk. And I can see why, because it is a great plant milk or milk alternative, and it is amazing, especially in coffee drinks as a creamer or as the milk in like a latte. So I'm gonna show you how to make oat milk in the beginning here, and then we'll talk about coffee and show you some ways to use that oat milk in your coffee. So I'm gonna head over here to my Vitamix and we're going to make up a batch of oat milk. Really easy, inexpensive. Yeah, so I'll see you over there. Oat milk is exactly what it sounds like. It's milk made from oats. And you really only need two ingredients, which are oats and water. And I buy my oats in bulk. This is, I don't even know how much, maybe £1.50. When I buy it, it's about 89 cents per pound, and that's really inexpensive. Obviously, if you wanted like organic, which this actually might be, it's from Sprouts, but organic might be a little bit more expensive, or if you can't find it in bulk bins, you might spend a little bit more, but overall it's really inexpensive. And to make like a liter of oat milk, you only need 1 cup of oats, so it's like, I think something like 12 cents or something. My math is terrible, but it's around 10, 12 cents per batch, which is super inexpensive. So what you do, you buy some oats, and you take a cup of those oats and you want to soak them in some filtered water for at least like a ½ hour. And that's what I have done here. And now I'm going to just strain out this water that they have been soaking in. And then we're going to throw this into the blender. Okay, so that's 1 cup of soaked oats that are drained, and then to that I'm going to be adding 4 cups of filtered water. If you want it a little bit thicker, maybe go with 3 cups, but I think 4 is a nice place to start. If you really wanted to add dates or something else to sweeten it up, you could, but one of the reasons why oat milk is actually really great is it does have kind of a high sugar content. It's really great for baking because it helps things brown up on top, so I'm gonna do a whole blog post about ways to use oat milk, but coffee applications and things like baking, it's really great for. So 4 cups of water, 1 cup of soaked rolled oats, and now I'm just gonna blend this for about a minute. The oat milk has been blending for about a minute, and while that was working, I got this bowl and a flour cloth towel. Now there's a bunch of different ways that you can filter or strain this. You can just use a really fine sieve to do that. I like this method with the flour sack towel. It's the same that I used when I made my soy milk, and I will link that recipe up in one of the corners here so you can see how I do that as well, because that's another really great all-purpose milk. This one comes out a little bit thicker and a little bit just creamier, which like I said is much better for coffee. So I have my oat milk here, and I just lined the bowl with this flour sack towel, and then I'm going to pour the milk into this bowl. And the reason I like using flour sack towels is that they're thin enough, the weave is loose enough, but they're still fairly, I don't know, it's sort of like a cheesecloth, but I find cheesecloth to be a little bit flimsy. So I have my oat milk in here, and I'm just going to twist until all of the liquid comes out. One thing about oat milk too, it's a little bit, I keep using the word creamy, but some might use the word slimy, and I know that doesn't sound appealing at all, but it has a really interesting texture, especially you'll feel it as you're squeezing it, that it's got an interesting texture, and that's what really helps it work well with coffee drinks. All right, I think that's about, not a cute sound. I think that's all that I can get out of here. Don't waste this. This is great. You can put it in smoothies. It's basically just pure fibers. So I'm gonna rinse off my hand, and then I'll show you how I bottle it up. This bottle here is just a Santa Cruz juice bottle. I've been using it for my milks over and over again for the last few months. And this here actually comes up in the second half of the show, but this is a coffee filter for making a pour over coffee. This is actually from IKEA, it's about $9, but this strainer is really incredible, and I like to use it when I make my own milks because it just, any particles that may have come through the towel or the strainer, it really just helps to take those out. So I'm just gonna pour this in. Hopefully I don't make too big of a mess. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but it is super creamy. And I like to, as it's going through this final sieve, again, this isn't a step that you have to do. It just makes it a little bit clearer. Just kind of scraping down the edges so that it goes through. And this could take a minute, but I do think this step is worth it. Again, if you don't have one of these, don't worry about it. You just may have a few little tiny particles, but it's homemade, so just say that it's supposed to be like that. My oat milk is finished, like just shaking it, it just has like such a creamy sound to it. So I'm going to put this in the fridge and just let it hang out till I am ready to use it. So let's go over to my coffee station and I'm gonna talk to you a little bit talk to you a little bit about how I make my morning coffee and then show you some ways that you can use this oat milk in your coffee. So let's go over here. We are over here at my morning coffee stand, and this right here is pretty much what I use every single morning to make coffee. And I bought this burr grinder here, which is a really nice grinder to have because you can adjust the sizes. And I bought this as part of my plastic-free July because I was trying to use less coffee that was already ground in bags, so I wanted to be able to buy my own. So I bought this. This is one of the things that came with a plastic bag that was like against Plastic-Free July that I bought in Plastic-Free July, but I haven't regretted it. I've used it pretty much every day since. And over here is a Keurig. Ben always criticized the way that I say it. Did I say it right this time? Keurig? Keurig. Although this isn't normally thought of as sort of a like zero waste or a bulk type of appliance, I use this reusable K-cup. And I've used this for years and it makes my life so easy and I don't have to use any of those pods that I buy in the store. So this coffee here is purchased from Sprouts. Most grocery stores still have coffee in bulk, so it's really easy to buy. I could have easily used my own bag for this, but this bag I've just been reusing. This is probably the 5th time that I have reused this bag. It already has the SKU number on there, so it just makes things easy. I just fill it up. I like to use a dark roast, fill it up, and it's ready to go. And this bag is reusable kind of infinitely, or at least until it can't be reused anymore. So I'm just gonna fill up the hopper on my burr grinder. Can usually get close to a pound in here. I'll link below what model that I have. It's a Cuisinart. But they're usually only about $30. You can probably get them a little bit cheaper on Amazon or Bed Bath & Beyond if you have a coupon, which is where I think I got this one. So there's a bunch of different settings. For the Keurig reusable one, I just go basically like 2 notches to the fine side of medium. So I'm just gonna push the button here and it's gonna be really loud and ugly, but I'm gonna grind some coffee. The coffee is ground. It's kind of an annoying sound, so we just cut away while that was happening. And I like to just use a little jar because I'm usually up before anyone else in the house, meaning Ben. So I just like to grind it maybe the day before or something so that I don't have to use the grinder that morning and it's too loud and wakes him up. So it's enough for a few cups of coffee here. The grinder came with a scoop, but basically my ratio is 2 tablespoons of coffee for every cup. And that's just about what fits in the reusable K-cup here. So again, this is the way that I like to make coffee every morning. Obviously, if you don't have one of these machines, you can't do it this way. But if you do have one of these machines and you're still buying the cups, please stop. Just start to buy your own coffee in bulk. Even just buying it in a bag is better. And grind it yourself, or even if you buy it in bulk in the store, they usually have grinders there. Just grind it for a drip coffee maker, maybe a little bit finer than just the normal drip setting, and start to make your own. These things are maybe like $10 max, and you're gonna save a lot of money. and it's just a lot of waste that you're not gonna be contributing to. So, pop it in there, let me warm it up. And every morning, I have my coffee in this reusable Starbucks cup, which I didn't like that it said Starbucks, so I bought this sticker from Vegan Power Company, and I get so many compliments on it, and I've used this cup for years. So I usually just fill this up every morning. Because it does work really well, I put some ice cubes in it normally, and it helps to put it at the perfect temperature so I can sip on it right away and not have to wait. So once this warms up, we'll brew a cup. Once this warms up, we'll brew a cup. My machine says it's ready to brew, so I'm going to brew a cup here. I already put some ice cubes in there, and while this brews up, I'm gonna talk to you about some other ways that you can make coffee with limited to zero waste. All right, so in terms of ways that you can make coffee at home that don't require you to use any filters or anything extra that you can just make, there's a few different methods that I have. There's obviously a few more like Turkish style, which is a really fine grind. But I'm gonna show you a few today. So one of them is the French press, and this requires a very coarse grind. And this is something good that I like to use when I have more than one person that I'm making coffee for. Obviously with the K-Cup method, you're only making one at a time. This allows you to make coffee for maybe up to 4 people at a time. So this is really great. But again, it requires a coarse grind, something different than what you would use for your drip. This method here is a pour over. And as I mentioned before, this is the IKEA pour over. This one would require either a portable filter or a reusable filter, or if you were composting, you could use a paper compostable filter in here. This one from IKEA is supposed to work where the filter, your coffee just goes directly in here, so you don't have to have another filter. This is not my favorite way of preparing a pour over coffee, only because I felt like the coffee went through a little bit quickly and didn't really brew to my specifications. But again, this device here, I recommend it. If you fry anything, this is the best way to strain oil. It's great for any nut milks or any plant-based milks that you make. It's just a final strain because the mesh is really finely. It's like almost like a juicer grade mesh. So I recommend this, but it does work for pour overs. It just makes it a little bit weaker than what I like. The finest grind is for an espresso machine, and this is a mocha style pot, spelled M-O-K-A. This is the IKEA version as well. And the way that this works is you fill this receptacle here with espresso ground, which is really fine grind, and then you fill this with water up to this spot and put it on the stovetop. Takes just a couple of minutes, and then this fills up with espresso, and this is great if you want espresso drinks like mochas or lattes. It doesn't require any special type of machine. It's all done in here. There's one more style that I want to talk about, and then I'm actually going to show you how I make that, and that is for Vietnamese coffee. So to make Vietnamese iced coffee, I think Thai iced coffee is the same way. You need one of these little gadgets here, and I just got this at an Asian market. They're really like $3 or $4. A few different pieces that it comes in. What you want to do here is take your just regular drip coffee grind. That's kind of just a medium grind, and you need 2 tablespoons for a cup, and you're just going to add that to coffee maker. Coffee maker is kind of an exaggerated word for what this is. This little contraption. This here is kind of a little mesh screen. This goes down on top of the coffee, and you just want to kind of press it down a little bit. In this cup below here, I actually have some just coconut sugar. There's about a tablespoon in there. Normally this is made with sweetened condensed milk, but using oat milk here is a great substitute because it is nice and thick and hearty and holds up in a similar fashion, but you just need the sweetness because this isn't as sweet as sweetened condensed milk. So to the little contraption here, I'm just going to fill this to the top with water as I get water all over my counter. And I'm going to put the lid on. And as you can see, it creates kind of almost like an espresso, and the coffee drips down into the sugar. As soon as it's done, we'll stir that up, and I'll show you the next step. It takes a few minutes for the coffee to come out, but once it does, you just take this thing off of the top of the cup and then put the lid underneath so it doesn't drip, and then just stir to make sure that that sugar dissolves. I have here a cup full of ice, and we're just gonna pour that hot coffee into the ice. And of course it's going to melt, but that's gonna help dilute the coffee. And then we're going to top it with our creamy oat milk, which you can see works beautifully in this. Look how nice and creamy it is. And if I can find my straw, mix it together here. And that's it. This is a nice, delicious, slightly messy now because I got a little bit full, but iced coffee that's sweetened. And you can see how beautifully that oat milk goes in here and just lightens up the coffee, and it's still got a nice like strength and bitterness to it, but the sweetness from the coconut sugar, the creaminess of this, it is so good. So I'm gonna probably pass that on to Ben because he likes the sweeter coffee drinks. I'm gonna just finish up my black coffee in here with just a couple of ice cubes because that's the way that I enjoy it. So that's pretty much all I have for you today in this video. You need to try oat milk, especially if you are a coffee drinker, and especially if you've been looking for the perfect creamer for your coffee. A lot of people say when they go vegan, they can't find that right creamer, and this is definitely it. If you want to add some dates or things to it to sweeten it up when you actually make it, you can, but the texture of oat milk is truly like coffee's best friend, whether it's just as the creamer that goes in to lighten up your like hot coffee, or whether it's the milk base and like an iced coffee like this, or a latte. So give it a try. If you like videos that are like this, where they're just more conversational, kind of showing you about things that I enjoy or ideas just like coffee, because I'm obsessed with coffee, let me know. As the channel grows, I'm interested in hearing what kind of ideas that you all have and what things that you want to see on this channel. If you just want to see more casual content, or if you're here mostly just for the recipes, let me know. So I will be back probably on Thursday with another video for you. If not, I will definitely see you next Monday. So you have a great week. Enjoy this coffee, make yourself some oat milk, and tag me if you do. Let me know what you thought of it. So enjoy, and cheers. It's delicious.